You are there for them. You are telling them, I am here for you, to help you, to assist you in whatever way I can. Now, one of the most important things I believe to be is that when you're providing feedback, especially non-evaluative feedback, like it says on the slide, use I messages. What's the importance of them? Simple. It's you who's speaking. Own the statement. Own it. Tell them, this is from me. This is what I believe. This is what I think. What you may find is that their reaction to your statement may be somewhat more positive than negative. Because if you start throwing out you this, you that, what are you doing? You're accusing them of something. That's how it may be interpreted. So therefore, if you focus on using I messages, if you focus on owning the statement, it is your opinion. It is how you believe. It is how you think. And that is much more acceptable than throwing out, this is all about you. This is your fault. You need to do this. You need to do that. You're going to find that if that happens, think about it. What would you do? Probably get defensive. Because I think that's what a lot of people may do. So, always own those messages. Okay? Now, let's go back to supportive feedback for just a minute. A couple of things that I want to bring you up to date on. By providing that supportive feedback, what you are doing is you are sharing your perception of the situation. You are telling them, this is what I see. This is what I think is going on. What it also has a tendency to do by being supportive is that those strong feelings that they may have, if they're really angry, think about it, you're really angry, you really would like to take someone and maybe just start beating the wall or something. By providing that support, what you may be able to do is reduce that intensity of those feelings. Not have them subside entirely, but maybe calm the person down a little bit so they can think a little more rationally, so they can really take in all that information and make a much better decision than if they are too reactive. Better to act than to react. And also what it does by providing supportive feedback and by using those I messages, what you are doing for them is you're confirming the validity of the problem. You are saying to them, yes, you are right, this is a problem. But with the other things that are going on, the other things that you have said, again, owning them, you're more likely to be a little more supportive of those people. Okay? You don't pass judgment. And that's the key thing here, especially in empathic listening. You don't want to pass judgment. Okay? All right. So those are evaluative and non-evaluative feedback. Remember, connected with Chapter 1, the information that you've learned from Chapter 1, and the transactional model communication that comes from the Department of Communication. Okay? What I want to go to now is something that I think is very important. We all need it. We all receive it. We all like to give it, I think. All right? It's just how it's done. I think sometimes it's not done very effectively. Think about this, because I'm going to talk about providing praise. We all like it. We all like that pat on the back that said, hey, you're doing a good job. Makes us feel good. All right? But think about how you do it right now. Let's say, for instance, you have a child. You have spoken to them about cleaning up their room. As a parent, we all do that. At some point, though, that child goes and does it without you prompting them to do that. Pretty significant event, okay? I know it wasn't in my house. I'm sure it's probably in yours too. And it doesn't have to be a child, a friend, someone you know, a parent, okay? They do something that you really want to praise them for. A lot of times what happens is someone will come along. As a parent, you may pass by that child's room, look inside, and you notice, wow, they actually did it. They cleaned it up. So maybe if you're up on the second floor and they're down in the living room, you go, hey, you did good. You finally cleaned your room. Not really what they want to hear, probably. Okay, but that's kind of the praise that we give. Or if you're at work, boss comes along and says something like, ha, you finally finished that project. Good work. Not real good praise, okay? Probably not exactly what I'd be looking for. But this is a way that we can provide praise that may be a little more beneficial. First off, note the behavior. Take note of it. Realize that it happened. In your mind, you might want to go, wow, he or she cleaned up the room. That's really good. I've noted it. I've made a note of it. Next, I'm going to go tell this person about it. So what I want to do is I want to describe what I just saw. I want to describe that behavior. So again, using the example of the room, I may say something like, I just passed by your room and I noticed that everything was in its place. I noticed that the drawers were closed. The clothes was in there folded real nice and neat. All your clothes was hung up in the closet like it's supposed to be. And your shoes were put away. Okay, that was the behavior. I just described it. Next, I want to describe the positive feelings or outcomes, primarily mine, my feelings, or what's the outcome of this. So I may say, this really makes me feel good that I didn't have to remind you to do this. It makes me feel proud of you. You see, that feeling that comes from it, or even the outcome. Since you took the time to clean up your room without me telling you, why don't I treat you to pizza tonight? It's a positive outcome. We're all looking for that type of praise. And then the last step is appropriately reflect the significance of it. There has to be some level of significance to it. If I continue on with the example that I've been using, I might say something to the effect of, what you did gives me the impression that you are trying to be more responsible, that you're trying to be a more responsible person, and that makes me feel good. Okay? Responsibility is significant, and I think we all look for that in everybody that we deal with. We want them to be responsible to some degree. So, in providing praise, I want to note the behavior, I want to describe it, I want to describe the positive feelings or outcomes, and I want to appropriately reflect the significance of it. Okay? Those 4 steps. Try it. See how it works. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is something that I think is just as important as providing praise. Because every once in a while, we have to do this. But sometimes we overdo it. This is a way that we can provide some constructive criticism to someone. Now, think about it. Think about the words I just used. Constructive criticism. Something that they can build on, not something to tear them down. So, in providing constructive criticism to someone, one of the first things you want to do is make sure the person wants your criticism. There is nothing wrong with going up to someone and saying, can I give you some feedback on this? Can I offer you some constructive criticism? What's the worst they're going to do? No? Okay, no problem. But they may say yes. And if you do it right, you may be in on them and really be able to help them. So always ask. Let's assume they say yes. Restrict your feedback to the recent behavior. In other words, what you want to focus on is what just happened. It does not matter that this behavior occurred last week. It doesn't matter that this behavior occurred last month. It really doesn't matter that this behavior occurred 2 years ago and you're still remembering it because you didn't speak to them about it back then.